Well, the next thing, I got home and I got an email canceling all my contracts for those hospitals,
Whoa.
and I couldn't go there anymore. And for me, it was huge because,
Of course.
it was the way I built my economy, our family's economy.
Mariana is a long-time entrepreneur from Uruguay who became an immigrant in Canada. Through her journey, she faced a lot of fuck-ups that shaped her perspective. After overcoming those hardships, she realized that her mindset had changed when she understood that her business was not only a store to sell fashion accessories, but also a vehicle to empower women. From that moment, her life changed. Hey, I am Sam, your host, and this is Startup Fuck-Ups. And I really appreciate you being here and taking your time to speak with me in this matter, because I know it's important for you to tell your story and to tell other entrepreneurs that they can benefit from this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And one other thing that I would love to say is that I admire your courage and in coming here and being able to speak about failure so easily, because when you are there and when you are facing failure, things are from a different perspective and you know how it feels. So thank you again for your courage, and I really appreciate it. And it's also an honor for me that you're here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Well, Mariana, so we met some months ago on an internet community, which has been an amazing experience for me and for you, I believe, too. So, but could you tell me more about you? Where are you from, and what is your background and expertise?
Yes. So my name is Mariana. I'm originally from Uruguay, South America.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people don't know. It's a tiny country, very beautiful. And I never went to university. I have no academic degrees. And all what I learned was by doing and putting myself out there and taking tons of risks. My philosophy in life is say yes and ask questions later, which is how I do things. I always say yes, listen to what is out there, and then after that, I ask the right questions to calibrate if it's for me or not. If I'm in that moment prepared to take that risk, because we are in different moments in our lives, and sometimes we are ready to take the risk. We are emotionally prepared. We have the support of the family to do it, and sometimes we are not. So that's what I believe, never closing the doors of opportunities. Listen to them, because you might not take them now, but you can take them later.
Yeah, of course. No, definitely. And that it's truly admiring. Many people would say, hey, you did not do this, but you did it anyway. And you went ahead and you said yes to everything. And then you asked the right questions so you could get to where you were trying to get, right?
Yes, yes,
That's
yes.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And one interesting thing that I have recognized, and I believe I told you this last time we spoke, it is that many of the founders and the entrepreneurs that I have interviewed here are immigrants, and I don't know if that has some correlation with the fact that they are also entrepreneurs and the fact that they are also openly speaking about failure. But I don't know. What do you think?
I really think that there is a thread there,
Mm-hmm.
because, I think when you're an immigrant, it's like somehow you lose the person that you were before, and you need to reinvent yourself. And you put yourself kind of I call it the survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
So you're willing to do things and take risks that when you're very comfortable, you won't do it. So for example, I moved to Canada 21 years ago. I was a real estate agent in South America. I had a successful company. I was in construction. I had a baby store. I had a really comfortable life.
Okay.
But I moved to Canada because of love. And the love story was amazing. But when reality hits and you need to start working and you realize that Mariana, the one that has all that social recognition and all the things that I had back home, here, overnight, they disappear. And you need to build yourself from scratch.
Yeah.
And I think that is a moment that you need to, it's a very critical moment. I saw lots of immigrants who cannot stand this and they go back to their countries because it's too hard of a change. But if you do embrace that change and you accept this as an opportunity to rediscover yourself, to be humble, and to start again, you will reach like incredible heights because it's really it's really empowering to understand that you can survive in the basic conditions. So you lose fear of many, many, many things that if you're in a comfortable position, people think, how can I live without a car? But when you need to come and start with no car and you cannot go out because you cannot eat, and you see that it's possible and nothing happens, so then I think the perception of what people call failure, it totally changes because it starts to be part of the process to reach your end goal,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
and it's just a stepping stone.
Definitely. That is such an important perspective, the process that we are working on, right? The thing that this is not final, and then there's a next step, and then there's a next step, and there's a next phase of what we're doing. So definitely really important to have that perspective in your mindset.
Yes, I think that one of the key things that I learned, and I think it was a process that I went through in Canada, was to reframe things,
Yeah,
to tell the story in different ways that they work in your favor and not against you.
definitely. Definitely. And that telling your story, it's such a powerful thing. And this is why we're here, right? And this is something that I'm really intrigued about because I since everyone is an immigrant here in my show so far, I some of them are just like city immigrants, like they went from one city to another, but still that takes some courage, taking you out of your comfort zone, moving to another city. So important to notice that. But culturally speaking, what does entrepreneurship mean back in Uruguay, where you are from?
Okay, we need to put things in perspective.
All right.
When I started to be an entrepreneur, it was like 30 years ago, 30
Okay.
some years.
Okay.
And I was like, it was very odd to see a young woman
Hmm.
uh, starting something, like being an entrepreneur. The concept of entrepreneurship back then was not like is today.
Okay.
So I think it's important not to forget
Hmm.
that Uruguay was a country who was conquered by Spanish, so very traditional. A woman stays at home, raise the kids,
Okay.
and but I was a grandkid of immigrants, which again, my parents needed to work really hard because my grandparents were very poor. So my mother was the entrepreneur. So I think I learned from her. She was like uh, an icon in the society because no woman did the things she did, and I think in some ways I was kind of the same because I was young. I started at 20 some.
Okay.
I quit university, which was not the path of like the bubble where I belong,
Okay.
and I didn't marry young like some of my friends who marry at 20. So I was really out of the box, I would say,
Okay.
back then. Today, the entrepreneurship in Uruguay, it's really blooming and there is a nice community and I'm proud to be part of it. I'm like helping and mentoring and And I love that part because you see now lots of women that they they have like so much potential and so much to give to the community.
Definitely. No, and that is really powerful. Being able to watch the evolution of this ecosystem in your country and in your culture, like from your perspective, you were one of those agents of change that made that happen, right? And
uh, I'm not sure if it was. I know that I was kind of a an example for, like, people look up, like, up to me,
of course,
but back then they weren't, like, it was not part of the culture. I think it happened in these years that I was in Canada.
okay,
And yes, I wouldn't say that I'm like an agent of change. I think I am an agent of change wherever I go because I love to shake the status quo. But yes, I cannot take that.
I understand. No,
Yes.
I understand. I understand. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, amazing. So now, the the thing is that being where you are right now, you have faced a lot of experiences, a lot of failures, a lot of success, and we're here because you want to talk about one of your stories. So why don't you tell me more about the project itself that you would like to speak about?
Okay, so when I came to Canada, I did many things, but I ended up with this business of fashion accessories.
Mhm.
And it was very interesting because, I started as a side job. I will go when my daughter was at school, and a friend told me, "Oh, you should come to this senior home where I work." She was a physiotherapist, and she said, "Oh, there are people who come and you can sell little jewelry and little things." And all my life, fashion accessories were my best friends because I was chubby,
Okay.
and they helped me to dress up and differentiate myself. So they were like the. If you ask me what was one thread that goes along with me, it was one of those that it always uh, accompanied me. So, when I was working in retail, people were commenting on my fashion accessories because they were different. They were from South America, very colorful, bigger, all that. And then I realized that that was something that I will enjoy starting, like, working with. So I started to go to these senior homes and setting like my little booth, very cute, and helping the seniors and talking to them.
Yeah.
And the nurses started to tell me, "Oh, you need to go to the hospitals because there is where the big money is because you have more traffic there." And so I started to go to hospitals, and that was like what it turned to be, like the bread and butter of my business. So
Okay.
we have kind of like 6, 7 hospitals. You go once a month, you set up for the full day, and you make the sales. It was amazing.
Whoa, interesting.
Yes. So we were doing that. We were again, the very early stages of what they call now pop-ups.
Mhm.
So we developed a very cute pop-up. It was like
Okay.
a boutique. So you will have lights and you will have like shelves and you will have mannequins. So it was really, really cute, super colorful, like very South American.
Okay.
And that grabbed lots of like attention and people loved it. So anyways, we were into that and we were doing that for like, I think, 2, 3 years. And we get along very well with the people who book you. They book the lobby, you give a percentage of your sales, so you're collaborating with the hospital. So it was a really win-win, and we really enjoyed.
Okay.
So suddenly
Uh-huh.
they changed the booking person
Okay.
in 2 or 3 hospitals. They were like, different groups of hospitals,
Okay.
and the management will be different. So they changed this person who was the booking person.
I understand.
So this new person came, and she came with a contract on hand and told all the vendors that our displays were too high for what the contract said, and our displays are like too like spread according to what the contract said. They
Okay.
said that they book us a table and now we are using extra space with shelving or things like that. And they started to charge like outrageous amount. They wanted to charge outrageous amount of money.
Okay.
So I was very upset because, we were doing this for years and me 2 3 years, but there were people there doing things this for 10 15 years already.
Okay.
And they had the displays, the same way all the time. And so, but my spirit, my Latin American spirit, I needed to defend everybody and why she's coming here and tell us what to do when all the other hospitals are okay. And, I don't understand why you need to go with a contract when the other hospitals are fine and they don't have safety regulations that she was saying and all that. So I spoke up my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and we got very fast and very like prompt and blunt. And she said to me, "You're too opinionated."
Okay.
And I said to her, "I think you have a problem with power." I, I said, "I think you're trying to make the point that you're the new boss, and we got it all.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I don't think it's in the benefit of anybody, not the patients, not the, like, the hospital, and definitely not the vendors."
Of course.
Well, the next thing, I got home and I got an email canceling all my contracts for those hospitals,
Whoa.
and I couldn't go there anymore.
Whoa.
And for me, it was huge because,
Of course.
it was the way I built my economy, our family's economy. It was depending on these three hospitals that they were like one of the biggest sales were there.
Okay. Okay.
So, oh my gosh, I was so disappointed. And of course, I started to say, why did I open my mouth? I need to learn how to shut up,
Yeah.
why I was so in need to to be right. And I think, that is something that was a really big lesson for me, because sometimes being right, it's not in your best service.
Yeah. I understand.
So learning to buffer between your thoughts and your mouth, I think was the big lesson. And of course, I was desperate. And of course, I was like trying to find things to substitute that. And, we needed to go to 3 4 more, like instead of one place, we needed to go to 3 4 small places to make up for that money. But you know what? Today, in the long run, like when you look back,
Mm-hmm.
that make me realize that I cannot depend on one person who's doing the bookings.
Of course.
And it pushes us like to think about, okay, we need to open a store because our operation was from our basement.
Okay. Okay.
So I thought, okay, how can I get the people that they were in that area
Mm-hmm.
still? And one of the lessons that I learned was, number one, collect emails from your customers because you never know when you're not going to be there anymore and you need to communicate with them.
Yeah.
So that was a huge lesson. The second lesson was, don't rely on, like, depending on if somebody is in that power position that will allow you to be there or not allow you to be there. It's
Yeah.
like tomorrow, like Facebook start to charge you. So have your own website,
Yeah.
have your home. So it really was a blessing in disguise. Because of that, we were able to open a store, and opening the store, it allowed us to create a community and open up a space for the community. So there were so many good things that happened after that. But
Yes.
at that moment was devastating. And I think that is also, it was lack of experience because
Mm-hmm.
I never dealt before with like big authorities or big corporations or big like companies. And after that, we also work well, this pushed us to look for more places and be more creative. And I got into all the government buildings to do like fundraise money with them. And, it was amazing. But again, there you run into these people who are like desperate for power, and they come to you and they say, oh, today you're not being here, you need to pack up and go.
Yeah.
And you need to learn to shut up and pack up and go, because you know that otherwise it will cost you much more than that day of frustration. So, you learn how to control yourself. The people who work with me, they were amazing. So when another occasion somebody told me pack up and go, they told me, okay, Mariana, you go, we pack up. We don't want you around because you're going to get upset and you might say something inconvenient. So I think self-awareness, knowing yourself and learning, reflecting and learning on your mistakes, it's what makes these failures successes.
Of course, of course. No, and I'm really curious to know how did you manage to move your clients from the hospital into the store? How did you do that?
So, we did have like the little box of draw,
Okay,
and we had lots of emails there. So that was a lifesaver.
okay, okay.
So we started to send that. And because we were going also to small senior homes around,
Mhm.
and we managed to spread the word within, but you lose anyways. We lost lots of clients. That was nothing to, it was, but we gain on another side other clients. So you see, everything has two sides always.
Yeah, that is really
And
powerful.
we gain a space, and we gain, in the future years, we had like these, we were retail, we were wholesale, so that place allowed us to do everything. I never thought about having a retail store, because this was more like, okay, we go, we pop out in the places, we pack up and we are done,
Mhm.
and not having like store hours and that. But you know what? The request of the people was, please have store hours.
Okay.
And when we started to see that request, and it was worth it to pay somebody to keep those store hours, so why not? Like, they were paying for that service, so we listen to the customers. And I think that's, one of the key things in business. You need to be in constant communications
Of
with
course.
your people.
No, of course, that is really important. So now it's happening. You open the store, and then what happened next? What is your next step? You start listening to your clients. You get store hours. You put someone in charge. Now what happens?
Oh, it was incredible, because I started to realize that people, well, of course, we were selling fashion accessories from around the world. It was very interesting.
Okay.
I i started to share my like shopping travel trips online. I was like doing live videos back then, and saying, hey, I'm here shopping in this factory in China, which purse do you like? And people will vote, and I will buy. So they felt that they were part of the community, and I think that was a really important point.
Yeah.
And people felt somehow that it was kind of their community, so they wanted it to make it bigger. So people like really shared, invited other friends. I open up, as I said before, we have upstairs an area where at the beginning was the warehouse. Then we clean it up and we put it available for the community. So let's say the Mary Kay ladies
Hmm.
needed a place where to gather all the directors, so they will come to my place. So
That's
I will just serve coffee and just let them be, and I will be downstairs doing my things. And this was sometimes, in the slow hours,
hmm
or sometimes was after hours.
okay.
So that allowed me to, first of all, advertise my place for free.
Yeah. Of course.
So it was a win-win. They came, imagine 10 ladies who know thousands of ladies.
Hmm.
They knew about my place, so they started to talk about it.
Yeah.
They were so thankful that they had a place comfortable and happy and all that, that they wanted to reward me somehow. So they bought stuff.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And after they bought the stuff, they were wearing it, and people were asking them, where did you get it?
Of course. Wow. Okay.
So they were walking advertisements.
Definitely.
So they really felt like it was kind of a commitment to make this place grow. It was like an our goal. It wasn't anymore my, it was everybody's place.
Okay.
And I realized how much, these ladies, they do have scarves, they do have purses, they do have jewelry, but they didn't have maybe that flair that maybe the South Americans have. Like, you put two things together and you look amazing, and it's like, so I really started to teach them that, the how to.
Okay.
So we weren't like the big, massive store that you walk in, you pick up your thing, you pay, and you go. We were the place where people will, it was a playground for adults
Okay.
where we play dress up, we try things, we teach them things. And I think that was the secret sauce of my business. It was the story and the experience that they went through when they were there. And also was that, when I understood that, I started to do workshops on how to accessorize, how to travel light, how to, dress for success, or doing workshops where people will recognize that your accessories are part of your nonverbal language. So what are you telling with your accessories? So
Sure.
people went on a next level of this,
Okay.
and that was incredible. And we brought in other women that they were part of that clientele, and they started to do workshops as well. So it was a lady who did color therapy, and she explained why we choose these colors and how they make you feel. And we got people talking about like health habits, and so
Wow.
it really became a community for
Whoa.
women made by women.
Were you aware that you were doing this, all everything like this, or how did you feel at that moment?
No, at the beginning I wasn't aware. At the beginning I thought, okay, they see this Latin flair and they like it and they're colorful, and they started to. At the beginning, they were even doubting me, like, who's gonna buy that orange purse? And then suddenly somebody was buying the orange purse, and they came to me back, and they were like, "You wouldn't believe how many people comment on my purse, and I feel so good. It's like every time that I put that purse on me, it's so empowering because I feel like happy in the middle of these winters." And so I started to hear things, and I started slowly, very slowly, to
Mm.
realize that my business wasn't a business of fashion accessory, that my business was a business of self-esteem
Of course.
and empowerment, shaped in accessories that they were accessible for them because the prices were super reasonable.
Okay. Okay.
And there were prices that me as an immigrant could afford. And that was always in mind. So nothing was like, the average thing was $20. So you will walk in the store and there were things that they were from 5 to 100.
Yeah.
So really everybody was able to afford it. So you will leave the store with something interesting from Uruguay, or after we started to bring things from Turkey and from Spain and you will live with something unique and very kind of like exotic for a super reasonable price.
So I want to know more about that moment that made you change your perspectives and change your mind on what can you do and what can you cannot do. This is,
So
Mhm.
it was a combination. I think it was a combination of things that started to happen.
Yeah.
So when the business when the business started to work well, and I had more people under my belt, like and we became, first I was alone, then my husband joined me, then we hired people. We were like 20 people now.
Okay.
So the business grew in lots of directions. There are many stories within there. We had it as a multi-level marketing. We went to China, we import containers. I didn't enjoy that part, so I shut down that part. even though it was very profitable, but it wasn't like, I wasn't enjoying. I was like more babysitting, which I didn't enjoy. And that's really another chapter that it's like by itself. I don't want to get into that. But anyways, I started to realize this thing that I was telling you, that all these the how to of the thing of how to wear the things, and I realized that people were way more interested in my story rather than how to wear a scarf.
Okay. Okay.
So when I realized that, it was really powerful because I really started to share my story. And I think, in Canada, people are very close and very reserved. And in South America, we are much more open and sharing. And I am open, and I'm vulnerable, and I'm not afraid to say the things that I did wrong, and, and recognize my mistakes. So people love it. And people were like, can you come and share your story? So I realized that, the business was actually a vehicle to allow me to empower women. And that realization was incredible. And I need to say that I met people along this way and through the store, thankfully, that they became mentors to me. And these mentors taught me something that it's not very common in the Latin American society, which is like the solidarity, the being part of the community, the giving back. And they started to introduce me to that world. And when I got into that world, it was like something click, and I felt, wow, this all makes sense now.
Okay.
So I can support all kinds of organizations, all kinds of women. I can empower other immigrants, other entrepreneurs, other women. So it was very powerful to understand that I didn't have a store selling accessories.
Yeah.
It was way more than that. And when I had that moment and that realization, honestly, I think you become more humble, you become less bossy. And I let go lots of the small things that I was so worried at the beginning to be very bossy around. And I really trusted and relied on the people that they were with me. And that, first of all, we grew because they were amazing people, most of them immigrant as me, and with incredible backgrounds, because we had a guy who was a photographer from Mexico. We had a stage manager from the Philippines. She ran like big events in the Philippines. But I never let them be them.
Okay.
Because I was like micromanaging everybody, because I was so scared myself that I was like, but when I realized that my job was empowering others and I let it go, it was like, wow, the business started really to flourish, and everybody was taking responsibilities. And the person who was my right hand, she was a school principal. So she was back in the Philippines. So she was like the most organized person. She would never let me go into the warehouse because I will make a mess. So she was like, you're not allowed here, you're allowed there. She was like, so the team started to work as a team, and everybody started to shine.
Nice.
And that was really important because that allowed me to work on the business and not in the business.
Yeah.
And I started to see opportunities and being part of the community and going out and do things and fundraise money for different causes that they were close to my heart. And that was, I think, that is when everything made total and absolute sense. I was making more money than ever, to be able to reach out to more women than ever. I was able to share my message because I was aware that I had a message. And we had people from all over the world working. We were giving opportunity to immigrants that they couldn't find their first job in Canada because they had no Canadian experience. And that was one of my first problems when I encountered. So it was really, you feel that you're at bliss. You're like doing exactly what you love. And it was no work. It was a pleasure and I love it. And I have millions of stories within that story that
enjoying that pleasure of working on what you love and having these moments of realization when you switch your perspectives, you switch your mindset towards something different and framing things differently. It's such a powerful thing to do, and I'm really sure, and this is something that I've seen also other places. But the fact that you become an entrepreneur, you need to work on that as well. You need to work on your personal growth, right? To identify what do you need to improve, what do you need to change, and from those experiences and from those stories, having the ability to say that you were not working, but you were having pleasure and you were doing what you enjoyed most, is such an amazing thing, because exactly that helps you out to overcome challenges, face those things that you have to face. Because I'm pretty sure that the hospital one was not the only hardship that you encounter in this process, because because I mean
oh
and
my gosh, we had endless. I could write a full book of just like, hardships and moments that I was like, what should I do? Yes.
exactly, and exactly, this is why we're here, right? This is because of those moments that when we are screaming at our heads and what do we do, what do we should we do, and we need to do something else. It's when, and should I quit, should I keep moving forward, should I, and all of those voices come in your head.
Boom.
What do you?
Totally. We all have those voices and we all doubt ourselves. We all like have the moments that you feel the imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? Or like, I remember the first time I was sewing scarves and the wife of the mayor ordered a scarf. And it was my third scarf that I saw in my life. So I was like, so like, who am I to sew a scarf for this super lady, and what is she gonna wear it ever? And
Okay, yeah,
so
definitely.
you question yourself and you doubt yourself, and you know what? Yes, you have your small pity party and you beat up yourself, and then after you come up with 3 things you're good and remember things that you did amazing and try to bring those up and keep moving. And and that's another thing. When you have a commitment, when I have a store to open and I promise that my store opens at 9, I don't care how sick, how tired, how depressed, how whatever I am.
Yeah,
At 9, I'm there opening,
yeah, definitely.
because the respect for my customers is number one.
Yeah, of course. And Seth Godin has a phrase right now that is really powerful, and it relates to that. He says that being a professional is not about having a professional career, but showing up every day, even when you don't feel like showing up.
Yes, yes, yes. And having a bad day, it's not the problem of the customer.
Yeah,
And I don't need to share that. He comes to my place to relive the same experience he lived the time before. And
yeah,
it cannot depend on my mood or the mood of any of my employees. It's the experience of the store, is the experience of the store. And when I'm there, and I love this, I learned this with the Disney
yeah.
the University of Disney, they say they don't call the employees, they call their employees a cast. So
Okay.
it's a cast of like the theater or a movie.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, of course.
So the minute you walk into the store,
Mm-hmm.
you're part of the cast, you're part of that place. So if you are in Disney,
Yeah.
it's the happiest place on earth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to play the role that you are. And if you're Cinderella, the minute you step foot inside that place, you are Cinderella all the way. It's not that in your break you go and smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
When you're in that place, you are Cinderella.
And that is why it's also so important to take care of yourself as a person. So and I'm really curious, so when you face these failures or these hardships that you fail in your story, how, how did you overcome those emotional hardships? What did you do at that moment?
Well, I think having the right people around you that will support you, I think that is key, super key. My husband is a great supporter. He has been with me all along. And, imagine if I will have somebody telling me, because of you, we lost that business, and what are you going to do to fix that? You feel you're in doubt you feel you're really worse than you are. But having somebody saying, "Oh, don't worry, we'll figure it out," you know, let's move forward and focus on the positive. And this is like, I think that is important. And again, reframe all the time. The talk you have in your head is the most important. The stories you tell yourself can define your future. If you tell yourself, "Oh, I'm an idiot," and you start to repeat and believe that, you will be that idiot. You will be that idiot. But if you say, "Okay, I learned from this. I'm not going to do it again. I'm sure I'm not going to do it again. How can I move forward? Where can I find new places? How can I expand? How can I make this something good?" And telling those kind of stories in your head and being very aware of what you're talking to yourself, I think it's key in entrepreneurship, because you're going to have 7 million moments of like feeling down or feeling bad or feeling you cannot do it anymore. And you need to, as I said, allow yourself the small pity party, but then get back to yourself and say, "Okay, this is my responsibility. I'm not a victim of anything or anybody. I take responsibility. This is my story, and tell the new story and move forward."
To also feel successful in other areas of my life, because that is also really important, right? To be able to even if you play with a band or enjoy time with your friends or your family, feeling successful in other areas of your life. If you have a failure on your business, that it's not going to matter that much, right?
I cannot stress that enough, Sam. Like asking for help
Yeah.
in any ways, like even people that you admire. Like, for example, I admire a lady in Edmonton that she was running this successful supermarket, and she suddenly grew into like 5 supermarkets, and it's growing into. So I was struggling with 20 people. She had 500.
Yeah,
So
of
it was
course.
like, how is she doing? And, another mentor said to me, "You will never know if you don't ask her."
Yeah.
And I phoned, very shy, because I thought this woman won't have time for me, a small, tiny, mini store, like. And guess what? When I phoned and said, "Oh, this is me, and I have this business, and and I'm struggling with this," she's like, "When are you coming for coffee?"
Okay, okay, nice.
And she became like a friend. Now we are like a text away. We talk all the time, and I might be strong in some other things, and she might ask me my opinion on other things. So
Yeah.
you never like put people on a place of like being unapproachable, because that, again, it's your story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not their story. They want to be approached, they want to be human, and they want to help others that they are in the shoes that they were when they started.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So reach out more. That will be.
Yeah, definitely. Reaching out, such an important thing for in growing networks and asking for help also, because asking for help, it's not only asking for help, it's the fact that you realize that you need the help and then you go and ask for help. And it's such so much about the self-awareness, as you said it. Definitely that is really, really important. So I'm curious to know what would you say to people who find similar situations through their lives lifespan on their entrepreneurial journey or their lives?
I would say, the entrepreneur, well, never start for the wrong reasons. And the wrong reasons are money or free time. Those are really wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because I didn't make money for the first years, not in real estate and not with this business. I work like a dog, more, way more than what I work for others. Because when you start a business, you are the multitasker. I was the marketing person, I was the buyer, I was the customer service, I was everything. So don't lie to yourself. It's hard. It's very hard. And you need to be prepared. You're gonna be judged, you're gonna be like criticized, you're gonna be so be ready for that. Surround yourself with positive people, people that they can lift you up when you fall, because you fall, because there are moments that they're really hard. And I think, there is a way, and this is my personal belief, there is a way to be at service to your community, and the more people you can help, the more money you will make.
Yeah, of course.
And the more money you will make, the more people you can help. So it's kind of an amazing circle that when you get there, and there is a word in Japanese, it's ikigai,
Yeah.
that I love it. And when you're in that moment of bliss, that everything clicks, like I said before, that you are helping your community, people pay for what you do, you're doing what you're best at. If you reach there, I think you're gonna touch the moon.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely.
And
Totally
and I
agree.
think it's possible. It's possible, but I think that focus on your customer, focus on what they want, listen to them.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm obsessed with customer service and customer experience.
of course.
You know, the guest gets the best. Those are like reminders that they need to receive more than they expected always,
Yeah,
or deliver. Those are things that they never fail. They never ever fail. And be generous, because there is like the people are very generous. Recommendations are super powerful. I never spent a penny on marketing, on paid marketing.
okay.
And we built a very solid business, very, very solid business that, we were able to sold it and retire at. I never believed when I started that business. If you would tell me that this will be the outcome, I will tell you you're crazy. It's impossible.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
but happens.
No, definitely, and empowering everyone who is in this journey to face this failures, face this even success, because success also comes with some negative things that you need to handle in your way. So if anything that you face in this path, be committed, as you said, be self-aware of where you are right now, and surround yourself with the right people asking for help, and move forward towards your goal, because definitely you do not know what is going on. I mean, and that is exactly, sometimes that might feel like the bad thing, like not knowing what can happen next, but that is exactly what makes it such an amazing journey, right?
Now I am mentoring at the university here for an entrepreneurship and accelerator, and it's an amazing experience because don't tell anybody, but I'm learning more from them than what they're learning from me.
Mariana, this has been an amazing conversation. I truly admire your courage in coming here and speaking with me about this. And I know that it might sound simple, because perhaps you have a lot of resilience, and your character gives you that perspective. But having the courage of being here and speaking about that, it is really, really powerful. So I'm really thankful and honored to have you here.
And I really thank you for opening this space for every entrepreneur to be vulnerable and show themselves as human beings, because people sometimes put you in a pedestal and they forget that you're another human who struggle with the same things as you, and we are together in this. So thank you so much for creating this.
Mariana's journey is filled with amazing stories and anecdotes. But the one that resonated with me the most was when she realized she was empowering women through her business. Many successful businesses have this one thing in common. They empower a community to create value. That is why it has become a common purpose for new and ongoing businesses to build a community, as it helps them achieve sustainability and growth. But some of them fail to do so or lack the vision to make it work, because it's not a simple task. In theory, bringing people together with a common purpose sounds easy, but the tricky part is that even if they have a unified purpose, each of their realities is different from one another, with different perspectives, different opinions, likes and dislikes. That's why if you're seeking to build a community, make sure you design the right effective strategy that leverages on the common elements. One way I have seen to achieve this is by allowing people to get involved in the process right from the very beginning, making them feel part of it by empowering them to build something together. Although Mariana didn't have a plan for this, she did it really well when she brought everyone together and created a safe place for women to feel as they belonged, doing their activities, enjoying themselves, and especially having conversations between them, allowing for connections to be made inside the community. If you're seeking to build a community for your business, your project, or whatever initiative that you have, make sure you create the right environment for conversation to happen. Not only between you and your community, but also between the members of the community. That way, you'll see the magic happening even when you are not around. Thank you for watching. Our goal is to help founders see failure from a different perspective. If you like this episode, remember to like the video and let us know in the comments what have you learned from failure. Are you interested in learning more? You can check our Patreon for exclusive content and subscribe to our mailing list for weekly updates. You will find the links for that in the description of this video. Remember to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications when we publish new videos.